Okay guys, welcome to a new video. This is completely different from anything that I've done before. I don't know what got me thinking about this, but anyway, let's just go right into what it is. What I'm going to do tonight is, as anybody that watches my videos will know, I was a bit of a C64 man. I mean, I bought a C64 back in 1983, the tail end of 1983, so I was kind of in there right at the very beginning. And one of the biggest parts of this owning a C64 was the ability to play music. I mean, it was an awesome computer. It had this thing called a sound interface device chip, known as the SID chip, and it just had this amazing ability to play some cracking music. Now, what I've done tonight is I've basically picked, it's favourite tracks that I've got that I love back in the day and I still listen to even now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a wee bit about each one before I play it. I'm going to let you listen to it in its entirety, well maybe not all of them because some of them do go on a wee bit. Just give you a wee bit background as to what I like about it. And then I'm going to let you hear it. Now, I was thinking about playing the game to let you kind of watch me play the game while I'm actually talking, and I've decided against that. I've just given you a really boring picture of the SID player. Now, the reason I've done that is because I thought I want you to just listen to music rather than watch me playing the game, because the games in some of these, I mean, I have to say, most of the music that I've picked is from some of my favourite games, and that's probably why I got to like it so much. But the actual music itself for these games I think is just awesome. So rather than distract you from watching me playing a game, I thought I'll just give you a really boring screen to look at so you can just listen to it, to hopefully kind of make you understand why I like each tune. Now, kicking off, I mean, all of the tracks, apart from about 4, are game tracks, you know, either in-game music or title screen music. There's one exception. Back in the early days of the C64, there was a thing called CompuNet. Now, it was, the basic way to describe it would be a very early internet. This thing allowed you to go online with your C64. I mean, you had to plug it into the television wire, obviously, but you know, and the way it worked was basically rooms you could go into, and I think you could kind of chat to people. It was like a kind of chat room almost type thing. But you could also, people could also put up files for downloading. That you didn't get games, anything like that, but it was usually kind of demos or music and that kind of stuff. Now, this guy I'm going to let you listen to is a guy called the Mighty Bog. His real name's Graham Marsh. I don't know why it's always stuck with me, but he put up 2 albums of music. Now, when you hear them, you'll probably think, well, they're nothing special. Now, he doesn't use any, you know, some of the later programmers like Martin Galway and Rob Hubbard, as you're about to hear later on, they were able to do things, manipulate the SID chip in ways that people would never have thought possible. They could do things with it, create instruments and that. Now, the Mighty Bog doesn't do any of that. It's very basic sort of sounds that he uses. But what I think's excellent is he tried to replicate sort of chart hits that were out at the time. You know, sort of 1985, I think it was, when they kind of released these albums. And you know, the music that he released was the music that I was listening to on album, and I just thought they were almost like note perfect, and it got to, they were so good that I would actually put his album on to listen to. Such was the quality of them. Now, you may, I totally get that what I'm going to let you hear, you may think it's a lot of rubbish, whatever, but these are my, I suppose if you want a better word, these are my desert island SID tunes. I mean, these are music that's just, it's close to me for different reasons, which I'm going to go into. So anyway, to kick things off, because this video is probably going to run on to for quite a bit. The very first one, now I mentioned this before in a waffle, this is Axel F, which was, I think, was it the theme tune to Beverly Hills Cop, I think it was. I'm sure it was. Now, I've heard various versions of Axel F over the years on 16-bit. Now, nothing, in my opinion, has come close to what this guy did. So I'm not going to talk anymore, I'm just going to let it play for a bit and then stop it. So here we go, this is Axel F by the Mighty Bog. Okay, I'm going to stop that one there. That was Axel F by the Mighty Bog. I just think the tone, he really absolutely nailed the tone of the track. I think it's excellent. Now this next one, it's a it's a bizarre little tune. This was one of the Mighty Bog's kind of demos. He just put out all these various songs, or tunes I suppose, songs I tend to think is somebody singing. Now this one is called Death. Now why I like this one is the track itself isn't anything special, but it's got a noise that kicks in about 30 seconds in, and it's a kind of death noise. Now when I listen to this, I always imagine I'm in some kind of haunted house, I'm in a graveyard, I'm all alone, it's dark, you know, there's a smelly death in the air, you're absolutely terrified, and you've just got this music playing. But yeah, it's about 30 seconds in, there's this kind of deathy noise, and I just think it's one of the scariest kind of sounds I've heard out of a computer chip. So yeah, about 30 seconds in, just see what you think. I think it's really special. This is called Death. Just coming up about now. Yeah, I just think that's absolutely awesome. It's a scary, scary noise. Anyway, that is Death. Yeah, fantastic. Now this next one is a well-known track. In fact, the next two are actually it's the Mighty Bog's versions of two songs that were out at the time in 1985, might be 84, 85 I'm sure. Now both of these songs were by artists that I loved back in the 80s, and I still do love. The first one is Kaylee by Marillion. Loved the proper song, and I just think this just nails. It's just got the essence of the song. You know, like I said, it doesn't use any fancy instruments, but I just think it really captures the essence of Kaylee. So this is Kaylee by the Mighty Bog. Okay, sorry for the abrupt ending. I don't know of any way to kind of make it fade out. But yeah, anyway, that's Kaylee. But that was originally by Marillion. Now the next one again is by a really favourite artist of mine's, which was real 80s. It's Howard Jones. Now his first ever song or first ever big hit single was a New Song, and this is the Mighty Boggs version of it. Okay, that was New Song, and again that was by the Mighty Bog. And the last one by the Mighty Bog that I mean, there's loads of them that I like, but I just wanted to kind of pick the ones that were my favourite. This one is called Roller Coaster. Now it's the reason I like it, it's such a happy, full-on. It's just, it reminds me of like Blackpool, the tower. The big, what is it, Wurlitzer, big organ thing. It's just such a happy, big sound. It just goes boof. It just kind of makes you smile. So let's just quick listen to this one. Yeah, it's a Roller Coaster. Love it. I just think it's such a happy tune. It's full on. It's really excellent stuff. So yeah, that's the Mighty Bog. You can go check them out if you download the sort of SID. There's a massive SID collection. You'll be able to get all of his tracks. Now moving on to games. I've got about, in fact, I think I've got 16 game SID tunes here that I want to share with you. First one, the game itself isn't a game that I actually owned. It was a game that my mate bought, and I remember going up to his house to play it. The game itself isn't, we didn't play it for very long, but the music just really pulled you in to the whole the game, the game premise. Now the game in question is Castle of Terror. It was released by Melbourne House, and it was basically, it was a graphic adventure. You basically typed in the commands on the keyboard, and it had some sort of rudimentary graphics, but it was based around this sort of little village, and Dracula had actually, he was killing people in this village, and you were basically trying to find out where he was and basically try and kill him. But I just think you've got to remember, it starts off, the opening scene is of a graveyard with two guys digging a hole for another dead body. So this is Castle of Terror. Let's just move on to the next track. And the next one. Next. And the next one. Okay, yeah, hopefully that's giving you a wee kind of taste of just what, the music itself you couldn't say is particularly brilliant, but it just really set the scene for this game. And playing it with the game, it really adds to it massively. Now the next one is probably some people's favourite SID tune. It needs no introduction. It's just an absolute classic bit of music. Now I've got to say, probably without the music this game wouldn't have sold. I certainly probably wouldn't have played the game anywhere near as much as I would have if it wasn't for the fact that this tune was playing when you were actually playing the game. So without much further ado, I'm just going to fire right into it. Okay, needs no introduction. Obviously, it's Commando. Absolutely stonking bit of music. It really is. One of my favourites. Now the next one is it's the title screen. Sorry, the high score track. Now I think it's the same as the Monty on the Run high score. I've always thought it sounds very, very similar, and to be honest, both of them I think are just excellent. So anyway, let's see if we can find this one. And that was Commando, the high score track again, which I think is very similar to Bonnet in the Run one, but it's a classic piece of Rob Hubbard. Absolutely love it to bits. This next one, it's a game that again I played a wee bit, but I just used to put the game on sometimes just to listen to this music. It's a very, very, very simplistic piece of music. Well, I'm saying that, I mean, I'm not a musician at all. Again, it's by Rob Hubbard. It's one of his earlier pieces, but I don't know, I just think it's a cracking piece of music. This is from a sort of puzzle game called Confusion, and I can't even remember the name of the company that released it, but this is Confusion. That's Confusion, and again that was by Rob Hubbard. Hubbard, I can't even pronounce that properly. I'm trying to whisper because it's quite late at night. Hubbard, Rob Hubbard, yeah. Now this next one, it's the reason I've got it in this list is because it was a game that I got early on in the sort of C64's life, and I remember thinking the graphics were quite basic and a bit rubbish, to be honest with you, but once you started playing the game it drew you in. The music was a big part of that. Now, although I remember thinking at the time it seemed to almost, the music did, in fact I think it did, the music actually changed, I think, depending on what was actually happening in the game. Now that was a kind of first, as far as I was concerned, for games. You know, it changed depending on what was happening on screen. The music actually changed. It's a fantastic piece of music. I don't actually know who wrote it. It might have been the guy that actually wrote the game. I can't remember his name. Paul, can't remember. but it's Forbidden Forest, and let's have a wee listen. That's Forbidden Forest. Paul Norman, that's who wrote the game. I think he actually did the music as well, actually. So yeah, absolutely love that. Now this next one, again, it's one of the first games that I ever bought. You can probably see a bit of pattern forming here. A lot of the music that's close to me is music for games that I got early on when I first got computers, and that's probably why there's probably a huge nostalgia thing going on here. But even listening to it now, I realise it's a good piece of music, and it just brings back some fantastic memories for me. Now the game itself was completely pants. It was by, I think it was Analog Software, and you basically had to sort of take off. You didn't have to take off. You had to land a Boeing 737 aeroplane, and it was just impossible. But this wee bit of music, it only lasts for about 30 seconds. I don't know what it was. It was the instruments that they used, but I just think it's a lovely wee bit of music. As it lasts, it's a very short piece, but give this a little listen. This is Flight Path 737. And that is it. That's Flight Path 737. It's very, very short, but I don't know what it is. It takes me back to a really, really happy time. It really does. I don't know who actually wrote that music. Again, apologies in advance. Now, this is the only track from Ben Dalglish. Now, Ben is a renowned musician, not just for making game music, but he made some amazing music for the C64. I think The Last Ninja is a lot of people's favourite SID tune, bar none. It's an amazing piece. The thing for me is I had kind of moved on to 16-bit computers by about 1986, mid-86, maybe the very beginning of 87. So a lot of probably the best music, I mean, I would bar maybe a couple of tracks that I've picked, I would probably say that none of the ones that I've got, other than these two which you're going to hear, one being Commando, probably wouldn't make any top 10 SID tunes, because the stuff that they were bringing out later on was technically fantastic. But yeah, the music to me, it wasn't just because it was technically fantastic, it sounded great, but it really, really helped enhance the game. Now this track that I'm going to let you hear is for a game called Loco, which was by Tony Crowther, and this was based on a Jean-Michel Jarre track is it Oxygen? I can't remember exactly what one it was. The Jean-Michel Jarre was massive. He still goes now, but he was massive in the 80s. And of course, you know, the copyright wasn't really something that existed back in the 80s. So, you know, that was a lot of musicians were trying to replicate Jean-Michel Jarre. So this is Loco, and this is by Ben Dalglish. And that was Loco by Ben Dalglish. It was actually released by Alligator Software. Okay, this next one is back to Rob Hubbard. It's a game released, I'm trying to think who released it. Was it Mastertronic? I think Mastertronic had a sort of a... They had their budget $1.99, then they also had a label which was slightly more expensive at $2.99. Now this game was called Master of Magic, as I've just told you. It was a kind of a graphical adventure. It wasn't a graphical adventure. It was an adventure game, but you actually interacted using the joystick. But the actual track itself, I think it goes on for something like 10 minutes, and I'm not going to let you listen to the whole track. But have a wee listen. I just think it's excellent. It's such a nice tune, you know, and bear in mind this is all getting done on an 8-bit machine, and this track actually ran when the game was playing itself. So this is Master of Magic by Rob Hubbard. Yeah, that was the Master of Magic, and that was by Rob Hubbard. But again, I say you have to appreciate that that was actually playing as you're playing the game. I mean, a lot of these tracks that you're listening to tonight was basically they would play at the start of the game and then just stop once you've actually kind of finished it. Now, the next one, it's probably up there on a lot of people's favourite SID tunes of all time, and it's absolutely 100% my favourite SID tune, bar none. I've actually got the remix of it. Now I've got to say that even a remix that was made maybe 10 years ago, the original SID one is just as good. And in fact, I'd probably say it's my favourite one because it's, you know, it's the original and it's always going to be the best. I'm going to let you hear this thing right to the very end, so apologies now if you don't like this, but it's definitely worth listening to. This is Monty on the Run. This is again is by Rob Hubbard, and it was the theme tune to the game with the same name. Okay, that's Monty on the Run. It's just a fantastic piece of music. I mean, it drags you in, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds it up to that sort of crescendo with a kind of violin bit to finish with. Fantastic. Absolutely love it. Whew, yeah, Monty on the Run. Now the next one, this was not from, well, I was going to say it's not from a game, it's from a lot of games, and it is synonymous with ocean games in particular. It's called Ocean Loader. Now this was written by Martin Galway, and this was the music that we got to listen to when the game was loading, and it's yeah, you eventually got fed up with it when you were a kid, but it's just such a iconic piece of music for any C64 guy back in the 1980s. This is Ocean Loader by Martin Galway. Okay, that was the Ocean Loader. Now I think they did bring out a sort of version 2, which was a slight kind of remix of that one, but sometimes when the game finished loading, you found that the actual in-game music was just didn't compare to the Ocean Loader. You know, the Ocean Loader set such a high standard, and sometimes the in-game music just wasn't as good. So yeah, that was the Ocean Loader by Martin Galway. Now this next one, again, it's a very, very early game for me. Again, it's a very simple piece of music. It's actually based on a I don't know what the piece of music is, but it is based on a classical piece of music. Now the guy that actually wrote this is a guy called James Lisney. He was a friend of Jeff Minter, and he went on to become a very, very successful classical musician. And he did a few of Jeff's music. Now this was for Revenge of the Mutant Camels, which now the reason I like this music, it's a fantastic piece of music on its own, but it was really this was the beginning of this video game hobby of mine. I knew I was discovering something really special, You know, listening to this, you're listening to music of this standard, playing games, and you thought this is going to be an amazing hobby, and here I am, 30 odd years later, I'm still enjoying video games. So yeah, this is Revenge of the Mutant Camels, and that was by Lamasoft, and it was James Lisney. Yeah, it's quite a short piece, but it's a beautiful little bit of music, it really is. I'll actually need to find out one day what that's actually based on. That was Revenge of Mutant Camels, and that was by James Lisney. Now this next one, it's actually another Mighty Bog one. I thought I'd put them all in a folder to do at the start, but I didn't, because they're in alphabetical order, and that's why I missed it. There's a couple here still from Mighty Bog. This one is Rule the World, which was a version of, what were they called? Not the Pet Shop Boys, Tears for Fears. Yeah, everybody wants to rule the world, and this was the Mighty Bog. I just think again it was an excellent version of a good song. I really enjoyed it. This is Rule the World. Okay, that was Rule the World, again by the Mighty Bog. Apologies about the delay in it starting. What I'm kind of doing is I'm turning the sound down to hopefully make it fade out, but I forgot to turn it back up. Twat I am. Now this next one again is a very, very famous SID tune. Again, it's by Rob Hubbard. I wish I could pronounce his name properly. It's Sanction. Now, what I like about this one, it's just got some great sort of voices that they've used, a real kind of roboty, is that the right word? Futuristic, roboty kind of beat with lots of kind of sound effects. It's hard to describe, but you know what, it's got a real industrial roboty sound. That's how I'm going to describe it. This is Sanction. Okay, that is Sanction, and that was published by Thalamus, and that was by Rob Howard. Rob, let's just call him Rob because I can't pronounce his second name. Yeah, okay. This next one is by Tony Crowther. Now I think he did the music himself. Again, technically it's probably not it doesn't push boundaries in any shape or form. The game itself was pretty unremarkable, but I used to load it because I just loved the music. Again, it was a very ambient, kind of chilled out tune that I just loved listening to, and listening to it now just brings a big, stupid, happy smile on my face. It just takes me back to summer days in 1985, mum and dad, were out in the garden. I was whatever I was, 17 years old, sitting in my bedroom playing my computer when it was sunny outside, listening to stuff like Suicide Express. So here we go. Welcome to Suicide Express. Okay, that was Suicide Express, and that was by Tony Crowther. I really love that piece of music. Okay, 5 to go, guys. This next one is a favourite game of mine's. I've made no bones about it. There was 2 versions. Well, there was the first one, then they brought out a sequel. Both are utterly fantastic games. And the music, although simple, really adds to the enjoyment of the game. It's a silly game. It's got a lot of humour in it. It's probably one of the few, if not the only 8-bit games that actually makes me laugh out loud with some of the stuff that it does. It's a brilliant game, but the music really adds to it, and it's a Super Pipeline. I've actually gone for the original Super Pipeline. I mean, both games have fantastic tracks, but this was the original one, and it's just the music really adds to the overall tone and humour of the game. Okay, this next game. This game is one of my favourite Commodore 64 games. There was the first one, then they brought out a sequel, and both of them are utterly brilliant games. They're just such fun to play. Both of them are unique as far as they're probably the only 2 8-bit games that actually make me laugh out loud, such as the humour that's contained in them. And a big part of the humour is obviously the music. The music just really helps to add to the game itself, and you can probably see there, I've already got it up on the screen. It's Super Pipeline, and that was a game published by Task Set. The actual music itself is very short. It's maybe only about 10-15 seconds, and it kind of got played over and over again. But the funny thing was, even given the fact it's kind of short little bits of music, it never actually ever got on your nerves. It just really helped add to the game. So let's have a wee listen to this. Okay, that's it. That's Super Pipeline. Like I said, all the wee bits are very short, but put together and overlaid onto the game, it's just a fantastic piece of music. This next one, the game is pretty diabolical, it really is. And again, it's a game that I would load up and play just because of the music. And once again, it was basically shamelessly ripping off Jean-Michel Jarre, but I just thought it was some excellent versions of some of his stuff. It's like Oxygen and Equinox, I think it was as well. So this game is a Trolley Wally, and this was by Interceptor Software. Okay, that was Trolley Wally. Now, I was talking nonsense saying they were all Jean-Michel Jarre. They're not. That first track is actually a track called Popcorn. I didn't realise that. I mentioned it in I think another waffle, and somebody correctly pointed out that it was a one-hit wonder for a group, and it went by the name of Popcorn. But it was kind of jumping on the sort of the what do you call it, the synth kind of sound type thing. So yeah, that was Trolley Wally. Now this third from last track is it's another Mighty Bog tune, and it's it's technically it's awful, and it's deliberately awful, which you'll see in a minute. But I just think it's funny. It's quite entertaining, and it's completely anti what it's called. It's called the Unentertainer, which for reasons which will become known in a second. I just think it's really funny. This is the Unentertainer. Yeah, that's the Unentertainer. For obvious reasons, I just think it's really good fun. 2 to go, guys. This last or second last one, it's one little track in the game. The game is World Games. Now, again, I think I've mentioned it in a previous video. Now, the reason I like it is because I just think it's an absolutely stunning piece of music. How they've been able to get this out of a SID chip is beyond me. It's what it's trying to do is replicate the bagpipes, which was for an event in World Games. You had to toss the caber, and they had the bagpipes playing. Now, I'm not quite sure what track it is, so I'm going to start it, and then I'll just have to quickly flick through it. So this game, it's World Games, and the one we're looking for is Toss the Caber, or the bagpipes. It's not that one. No, that's a Russian one. That's the barrel jumping, I think. That's the cliff diving, I think, in Brazil. That's the log rolling, I think. I think that's the riding the horse or the bull. Can't remember what that one is. Here we go, bagpipes. Yep, how on earth the author Steve Mage got the SID chip to do that is beyond me. I'd love to speak to the guy and ask him how on earth he managed it. Just fantastic. Okay guys, the very last track that I have picked for this, again, it's by Martin Galway, and it's on a favourite game of mine. It's the theme tune to Wizzball. Now, a lot of the tracks I've let you listen to tonight, apart from some of the Rob Hubbard ones, have been fairly simplistic. They've not really done too much, but they've just played nice little tunes. But this track is an absolute spanking track. I mean, the more you listen to it, it's an incredible piece of music, you know, and all the more when you consider the sort of I was going to say the basic hardware they're using. I mean, it's obviously that the SID chip is not basic, but you know, the fact that they're getting stuff like that out of a home computer back in 1986 is just testament to these guys' skill. So this is Whizball, and this is by Martin Galway. Okay guys, that is Whizball. Now I do apologise, it didn't sound quite right. I'm not sure what was going on there. I know this SID player thing isn't always perfect, and that didn't seem to sound as good as it does on a proper C64, so I'm sorry about that. That certainly didn't do it credit as to just how good it is. But anyway guys, that is it. That is the last of my Desert Island SID tunes. I hope you enjoyed. I was going to say watching, there's absolutely nothing to watch. I do apologise for the lack of anything to look at, but for me this was all about just listening to the actual tunes. So if you enjoyed it guys, please feel free to put some comments down, and feel free to like, comment and subscribe, and as usual, thank you very much for listening.